That's how I felt. You need a friend. I need a friend. I just liked her, okay? Maybe she could sense that I was crazy. Or maybe she just knew that I needed Jesus and couldn't tell that I already had him. Like, I don't know. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Forties Unfiltered, where I, Brandy Lynn, process my midlife crisis out loud in real time because therapy is only an hour and that is simply not enough. Y'all, we are back in the dressing room where I belong. Do we like my Dallas Cowboys cheerleader's hair? My hair is really doing the most. I mean, technically, I am originally from Texas, so I can do the big hair thing, but I really feel like it's being so weird today. I don't know. We're just gonna go with it. Let's hope it flattens out as we go. Anywho, listen, your girl is feeling friendly in more ways than one. Making adult friendships is really, really hard and really, really awkward. And sometimes super cringy. But I think collectively, we're kind of getting to the point where we're all realizing that they're deeply, deeply necessary, right? We can agree on this. So tonight we're going to explore themes like loneliness, connection, and the weird dynamics of trying to date for friends in your 40s. This week's drink is kind of wild, and in my never to be humble opinion, it's way more than the sum of its parts. We're talking reposado tequila, tomato juice, orange juice, lime juice, grenadine, hot sauce, and salt and pepper, which honestly sounds kind of gross, right? But somehow when it's shaken all together, it absolutely works. You're not sipping this drink amongst polite company, all right? You're sipping it when you're craving depth, flavor, something real. Kind of like friendship in your 40s. It takes a little extra effort and it doesn't always go down easy, but when it works, baby, oh, it works. So, if that's you and that's the kind of vibe that you're into, let me introduce you to tonight's main character, the mystery, the moment, the vampiro. That is weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I gotta get it down. Hmm. Why does that work? That does work. It works. It works. It takes a second, but it actually like, oh wow, it comes together at the end. Huh. Okay. Anyway, fun fact. This cocktail was born in the 1980s, so like me, she's middle-aged. So, cheers to aging with flavor. Mm, yum. All right. So, something I'm totally here for is this collective eye roll that we as women have been having towards men and their nonsense nowadays. But what I'm loving even more is seeing how we're really rallying around each other. You know, even if we're not actively dating, which, oof, I am definitely not, we can feel the vibe shift like pulsating throughout the country, right? It's like we all went to bed one night and then woke up and we'd all been synced to the same server called Girls Rule and Boys Drool, which would be super lit if we actually were. And it's really cool to see women adapting in real time and leaning into their platonic relationships. We're figuring it out like women always do. We're not lonely because we don't have men. We're building friendships with each other. We're creating community. We're filling our own cups, if you will. Brunches, book clubs, girl trips, cocktails with brandy. I'm actually really proud of how we're de emphasizing romantic connections and reprioritizing our platonic connections. But if you zoom out, like on the macro level, women might be handling it better than most men in comparison, but that doesn't actually cancel out the bigger issue, which is that everyone across the board is struggling, with loneliness. Society as a whole is lonelier than ever. Men, women, everybody, we're all craving connection in the same way. And I bullshit you not. The US Surgeon General declared back in 2023 that America is facing a national loneliness and social isolation epidemic. And get this, the craziest thing is that they're likening the effects as somebody who smokes 15 cigarettes daily. 15 cigarettes every day. That's insane. So like this is hitting like 52 million adults. And now here we are in the fall of 2025 and shocker, the numbers have not magically improved. So like millions of us are still out here feeling disconnected and craving community and really really suffering. But like it's not even just us. Like other countries literally have ministers of loneliness. Like actual government officials whose whole job is dealing with people who feel alone. Like Japan has one, the UK has one. Like, could you imagine like going up to somebody in a party and being like, "Hi, I'm the minister of loneliness." Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't even, what happens if the loneliness minister feels alone? Like, what do they do? Like, is there like a support group? Do they just like clock out and go home? Like, what do they even do all day? Are they just like handing out hugs like that guy on Instagram? Which, by the way, I have not seen him in a really long time. Is he still doing that? Because that used to literally like bring me to tears. It was so sweet. But like, I feel like someone needs to check on him. So can we hunt him down? That would be great. Thanks. Anyway, Minister of Loneliness sounds like the most depressing job I've ever heard of. And when I read that, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, we know that everyone's craving community, like, I get it. It's all over social media, like, you can sense the vibe, but, like, generally speaking, I had no idea that there was actual data backing this up, and it's incredibly sobering, you know? This isn't just, like, some passing social phase, it's, like, cultural at this point, and it's baked into who we are. It's really fucking scary to think about, honestly. But, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of an asshole. When I first read that statistic, it made me immediately kind of, feel bad for this guy that I used to talk to. He was one of those, like, nice guys, and oh my god, remind me to tell you guys whenever we start talking about dating in your 40s, like, never, ever, ever, never date the nice guy. Never. Hear me. Never date the nice guy, okay? Like, the nice guys are the fucking worst, and they're super fucking sneaky, like, I can't. It's the worst. Anyway, he looked great on paper, great career, about to get his doctorate, like, handsome, well-dressed, good father, but just, like, ridiculously emotionally immature. Like, he was one of those guys that was, like, always full about whataboutisms. Like, everything you said, it was all like, "Well, what about me?" And I'm like, nigga, what about you? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't care about you right now. We're talking about me. Like, I'm the one raising an issue. Why are you even what? Oh my God. I'm like, I'm happy to discuss however it is that you're feeling after we've, dealt with what the issue that I brought up, motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about? He used to drive me absolutely nuts with that. I swear, I think we tried to talk like on 3 different occasions, but even from the very beginning, remember when I told you guys about that big job that I had that was supposed to be life changing? That's when he and I first connected. And I remember distinctly one day I was trying to vent to him because things had gotten so bad there, and, I was trying to tell him what was going on, and he was kinda dismissive, like, "Oh, yeah, no, like, I totally, get what you're talking your job, like, I had to do the same type of job, like, for 6 months when I was planning an event at work, so, like, yeah, I totally get it," like, super dismissive, and I was like, "You basically reduced my entire fucking career down to, like, some 6-month project you worked on, like, what the fuck? Like, what are you even saying right now? It's not even remotely the same thing," but, like, he could not get his shit together to save his life, like, I swear. He'd say, like, "I'll call you at 8," and then he wouldn't call, and I must have told him, like, 100 times, "I'm a talker, not a texter," but he'd still only text, except when he wanted to come over to my house. Then suddenly he knew how to work a phone, you know what I mean? He was one of those guys. So finally one day, I just snapped on his ass, and I was like, "Listen, um, this is mean, you guys, alright? Don't do this, okay? Do not do this." But I did. I said it. I was like, look, I'm a woman. I will be fine without you. Like, I can make friends and build a whole life without a man. But you're a man. Without a woman, you're literally going to die prematurely. So you might want to figure out your shit. Like, guy, it was so fucked up. But I was really upset, you guys. He totally deserved it. Anyway, it's a fucked up thing to say. Don't say that to anybody, but statistically it's true and I don't make the rules. I'm just saying. Anyway, but let that serve as a reminder that loneliness is much, 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 much bigger than just dating. It's the backdrop that we're living in right now, you know? It's crazy. Making friends in your 40s is a completely different game than any other stage of life. You know, when you're little, you go out for recess and you're chilling in the sandbox and you got your favorite purple sweater on and some other kid comes up and they've got purple shoelaces and you're like, they like purple, I like purple, boom, we're best friends. And it's literally that simple, right? Then later on in adolescence in school, you're forced together because of sports teams and, you know, in my case, dance teams and other social activities. And it makes sense because people say that you're most likely to make friends with people that you're in close proximity to. Clearly. So, you know, you see each other in the hallways, you know, you think the same things are funny, you share a couple of classes, then like boom, you're friends. Do you know what I mean? But then not only are you guys friends, you're friends with their friends, and then they're friends with your friends, and then all of you are now a friend group, and then you go out and do things together and you know, plan things together because you've got a whole little social network going on. And when you're younger, it's literally that easy, you know? And then even as a young adult, like right out of college or maybe even in college, like you're still at that stage of life where you're like wide open and you've got more time and fewer responsibilities and honestly way less baggage. Like half your friends come from your circumstances, you know? Your college roommate, your current roommate, your coworkers, your party crew. You don't even have to try that hard, you know? But when you hit middle age, like everything changes. Like you're busier, you're much more discerning, and the stakes feel so much higher because you don't just want anyone in your life, you want the right people because you know at this point, you know, in order to spend time with them, you're taking away time from like partners and children and work obligations and social obligations. And a lot of times, you know, I think we're weighing whether or not it's even worth it. And it's just easier to just not even try. And then on top of that, a lot of us are carrying a lot of emotional residue. So, for example, old wounds from the past, like past friend betrayals from way back when, you know, that stuff sticks with you. And you know, or people who were secretly competitive with you. And, you know, you're always, you know, not as trustworthy as people anymore because like you dealt with people who were like competing with you for a job or like men or, you know, even your lifestyle. And it just, it causes you to just kind of look at people differently and you're not as open as you once were, you know? And then you have your own securities to deal with. Like the fear that you don't have your life together in comparison to the friend or the friend group, or you know, you could be financially insecure that maybe you can't afford the brunches or the girl trips or the shopping trips, or my personal favorite, a good old fashioned fear of rejection, which I actually did experience recently. You know, now I'm sure if you ask the girl herself, she would say I'm totally wrong, but also she did what she did, right? So, okay, one day I'm in Ulta looking for a matte black eyeliner because I had used up like this Anastasia eyeliner that I'd been using and I liked it, but I wanted to try something that looked a little bit more velvety matte, you know? Like to me, at the end of the day, a liquid liner is going to look like a liquid liner regardless of how it dries. But, like, I even tried that NYX matte liner, like, I tried a drugstore liner, and I just couldn't get, you know, the black that I was looking for, you know, like, the richness that I was looking for, so I was really struggling. So, anyway, I'm over in this cosmetics area, and, one of the women that worked there came up to me, and we got to talking, and y'all, when I tell you, I swear it felt like we were just seriously meant to be friends. You know, we had this whole long conversation in the middle of Ulta, and honestly, like I fell in love with this woman like right away, like right then and there. I just thought she was the best thing since ice cream. I really did. Ooh, it does. As it melts, it gets even better. Um, and I think I saw her one more time or something, but on a future visit, you know, like, I finally shot my shot, like, I asked if she wanted to grab dinner sometime, and she goes, actually, do you wanna come to church with me instead?" Now, in fairness, I had already known that she was heavily involved in her church, right? But here's the problem. She lives about 20 miles from me, like the town she lives in, and my own church is 24 miles from me, the opposite direction. So there's absolutely no way that I could go to both services on a Sunday morning, regardless of the times. So yeah, I was, kind of disappointed, and I took it kind of as a brush off, honestly, because we'd had this whole heart to heart. And she did give me her info, but it was, a card. And, then when I finally put myself out there, like, I feel like I totally braked. Right. So, um, and sure, it could have been a million things. Maybe she wasn't that interested. Maybe she had financial fears. Maybe she just didn't have the bandwidth. Like, she's married, has a family, and was probably going through, oh no, she was going through a bit of a career change. Plus, she had a close family friend that had medical issues, and she just had a lot going on. So it really could have had nothing to do with me at all. But the point is, on my end, it still felt like rejection. And that's kind of the danger, right? When you try to make friends as an adult and it just doesn't click, or the other person is just not interested. And it's so easy to just be like, whatever, and stop trying. But if you think about it, we'll put all this effort into dating, and in some women's cases, chasing men and bending over backwards to give romance a chance. But like, we won't put even a fraction of that energy into building up our girlfriends, or the women who could possibly become those girlfriends. And honestly, if you really think about it, that's backwards. Now listen, this woman already had a best friend, and that best friend was in a long-term care facility going through some truly, tragic and heartbreaking circumstances. And I really, really did feel for her. I actually appreciated very much that she felt safe enough to even share something that heavy with me because, you could tell that even just her talking about it, it hurt her just to even talk about it. But y'all, I am so fucked up for this because in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, wow, she's really dealing with a lot. It sounds like she could use a new best friend. I know, I know. I mean, there's an opening, and I'm not trying to erase the old best friend. I'm just saying I'm trying to get in where I fit in. Y'all, like, oh my God, I know that's such a fucked up thing to say. Like, I know. I feel icky, but like, it's true. It's how I felt. I just thought, like, you know, you need a friend, I need a friend, like, we could do this. And really, I just liked her, okay? I just liked her. And maybe that's why when I asked her to dinner, she curbed me and invited me to church instead, because maybe she could sense that I was crazy. Or maybe she just knew that I needed Jesus and couldn't tell that I already had him. Like, I don't know. Yeah, rejection is a valid concern. But another insecurity that holds us back from making new friends is the fear that maybe they just won't like us or we just won't click. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you feel like you're trying too hard because, you have a big personality and you've been told that you're too much your whole life. And that, again, sticks in your head and replays at the worst times, which can make you kind of, you know, make it sting a little more when things don't just immediately click. And then you start to overthink it because I really am one of those people who care just as much about the gift wrap as I do the gift. Like, and I believe in dating my friends. Like, I believe, that sometimes you bend over backwards to date these dusty ass guys. And, the problem is not everybody's used to giving or receiving that kind of effort in a friendship. And sometimes it just leaves me wondering, like, am I really doing too much? But it's hard because honestly, I want excuses to do extravagant things for people just to experience it with them. It's just who I am. I've always been that way. So, that kind of happened to me at another girl that I met at church. On paper, we should have been a perfect match. Like, we were both, bleached blondes from a box, or at least at the time I was. And, we were both cute. We both went to the same church. So, of course, we should be best friends, right? But in reality, our personal personalities could not have been any more different. She was very much like a tell it like it is person. And, you know, while I respect that, my sensitivity made it feel like even sometimes her harmless honesty really kind of felt harsh sometimes. And truly, it made me feel a little silly because at my age, I'm like, I don't want to be the person who's too sensitive. I actually can't stand people who don't say it like it is. So this should work. But something about the way that she would speak to me, it would sting a little more than I feel like it should have. And I can't even fully explain why. At this stage of my life, though, I have to be, at peace with the fact that I'm a sensitive person. It is what it is. But I also have to have enough self awareness to keep it in check, right? So add to the fact that she also had a gorgeous home and, a stable job that she actually seemed to like, and which honestly something that I will say I was jealous of the fact that she had far less responsibility at work than I did, but seemingly a much, much better payoff, you know? And, I could swear, I think like on a couple of occasions, I call her and she was like working from her laptop in some tropical location. And, it was actually pretty dope, but she just seemed to have the picture perfect life of a single woman in her 40s, like, and I'd catch myself feeling like I had nothing to offer her in a friendship, like totally my own insecurities, but nothing really to do with her at all. But still, it did shape how I showed up in that friendship. Um, and then, there were actual friendship attempts that we made. Like one year for New Year's Eve, like I went all out. Like I FaceTimed her earlier in the day from Whole Foods because I was gonna bring like, the food, the lobster, the champagne, like the whole nine. Um, and we didn't really have a time that were planning to meet each other, but I thought we were gonna do the countdown together. So I'm thinking I'm coming later on in the evening. And, when I get there, it like the house was like j it just didn't seem like she was expecting me at all, and to, like, top it off, she didn't even like lobster, and she was polite, but that the whole thing felt awkward because it's like, I called you from Whole Foods hours ago. If you weren't into it, like, I FaceTimed you, like, if this wasn't what you wanted, if you're not into it, if you don't like it, like, you could have said something, but she never said anything, which just personally is like a one of those pet peeves for me. Like, if you don't like something, try it, sure, if you just wanna try it, but, like, to have me, buy all this stuff that I'm thinking is, the fun, fancy food that you eat for New Year's Eve and then just not be into any of it was just it was kind of a downer. It was really awkward. But, we tried a couple more times. One time she invited me to dinner with one of her girlfriends, and I was so proud of myself for going because normally I wouldn't have gone. I get nervous. But, I thought, okay, this is a chance to meet, to expand the circle, but at the time I was in a season of abstinence. And I shared that with them while we were talking. And I told them how, we were talking about guys. And told them I was dating this guy and things had started to cross some lines, but nothing too far. And that I felt like I needed to pull back. And the look on her friend's face, and I could remember, like, her friend especially seemed really uncomfortable that I was even talking about that. I mean, she was nice about it, but suddenly I seriously felt like the weird person at the table. And they were both polite, don't get me wrong, but the whole thing, it just never really clicked. And, ultimately I felt like an intruder in their relationship, which is, it happens in the beginning, but like it never really came together. But I think that the thing that really, really got me was the t-shirt. Um, Anybody who knows me at all knows that I'm not a t-shirt person at all. I just, I might paint in them or something, but I don't even have a lot of t-shirts. I'm either overdressed for everything or I'm like a total bum. Like there's really no in between. But she had a t-shirt line and I just wanted to be supportive. So I bought one. And instead of just handing it to me the next time she saw me, she like insisted, like multiple times insisted on mailing it to me. And honestly, that to me was like a sign because nobody who expects to see you again, you know, goes through all the trouble of mailing you something when they could just give it to you in person when you live in the same city. So, yeah, she's still cool, but we don't really talk anymore. And looking back, the whole thing just kind of proves my point that, in midlife, basically, these little misfires feel heavier than they should because when you're a kid, you just move on to the next sandbox buddy. But as an adult, it feels like high stakes. And, it's really cringy and, you get tied. It all gets mixed up in your own personal insecurities that have nothing to do with the other person. And I think that's one of the things that really, really makes making friends at this age super complicated. For millions of reasons, it's hard to make friends in your 40s. And most of the time, people become friends with people that they work with because you see them all the time. And for me, that was typical. But it got me in trouble a lot because, as I mentioned before, for the most part, I was the boss everywhere I went, which meant that making friends at work was almost never on the table. But it didn't stop me because, listen, I genuinely have worked with some of the coolest freaking people, But the problem is when you're the boss, it's hard to know when people like actually want to be friends with you or if they're just feeling obligated. And I can tell you, after all this time, after all these years, I still don't have a fucking clue. Like, I could not tell you if the people that I thought were friends of mine in the workplace were real friends. I mean, I guess you could say that the proof would be in whether or not we maintain the friendship outside of work. Um, but even with that, sometimes with people, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. Everybody you meet is not going to be a close friend. So, I mean, I don't know, but generally, I wouldn't recommend trying to be friends with people at work if you're the boss. But let's be real, it's almost impossible not to. You spend so much time together and you go through really stressful projects and you hit milestones and you like celebrate wins. And, those are the kinds of things that bond you. Sometimes it's hard to separate the work relationship from the personal one, especially when you work with people that you really like and respect. Like I know people right now who absolutely sucked at their job. Like people I 1000% regret hiring, but I 1000% would love to be friends with them outside of work and like in a minute would hang out with them tomorrow. Do you know? And honestly, I'm not one of those people who says I'm not here to make friends at work. Like, I'm not really into that because technically, no, you didn't take the job to find your next bestie. But we do make friends at work, right? We've all seen it. The internet is full of jokes about it. Like, only in the workplace would like a 62-year-old person be invited to a 21-year-old person's birthday party, because it's just how it's the beauty of proximity. And you learn different things about people that you never would expect. And it bonds you like it really does. And it puts you with people that you'd never pick otherwise. And sometimes those connections really stick. And that's really cool. And I'll say this too. I think that this whole don't make friends at work thing is bullshit, mainly because most of it's aimed at women. I mean, seriously, when have you ever heard a man say that? When do you ever hear men saying something like that to each other? Like literally never. I've never heard a man tell another man not to make friends at work. But women, they say it, people say it all the time. And I don't get it because we should be making friends at work. We should absolutely care about each other at work because it makes it harder for companies to fuck us over when we're united? But that's a story for another day. Anywho, have you guys heard about this 120-day reset craze that's going on? It's, like, everywhere right now. It's people are using, the last stretch of the year to, like, level up and become, like, the best versions of themselves and, like, hit their personal goals. And listen, I have absolutely nothing against it, nothing at all, but let's be real. For those of us that have been around, it's nothing new. I think back in the day, we had that book, what was it? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and, like, everybody and their mama had that book, and then, like, Oprah starts promoting that book called The Secret, where, like, you will the life you want to come to you, and then we had that guy Dave Ramsey with, like, the Total Money Makeover seminars that, like, blew up. Every year there's some shiny repackaged version of, like, the same formula, like, pick a time frame, follow these rules, and like emerge a new and improved version of yourself. And listen, at the end of the day, they all work, like every single one of them. But what strikes me is that in all my 40 plus years, I've seen a million books and programs and seminars about success and romance and money and productivity. But friendship, like almost never. And at best, it gets a footnote, like maybe a line about how you could apply these principles to like your other relationships, but never with the same energy and definitely never with the same spotlight. And I really think that that says a lot about us as a culture right now. We keep pouring energy into becoming individually excellent or finding romantic love, but rarely into building friendships and community, which is wild because those are the things that like actually carry us through. I mean, look around, y'all. It's not a game out here in these streets nowadays. Like, life has felt more unstable than ever. The rules keep changing, the ground keeps shifting, and it just feels like the rug can get pulled out from under us at any minute. And when that happens and things get crazy, like what's left? And let's be honest, like keep it totally honest. You can't always depend on the family you were born into. But the people you choose, the friends you build, those nurturing relationships along the way, 9 times out of 10, that's who's going to show up for you. DNA doesn't automatically mean devotion, but your people, they'll help you move. They'll help you grieve. They'll help you laugh and remind you when you're going a little too hard on the Botox. Or if they really love you, they'll remind you that maybe you should get a little Botox. You know what I'm saying? Um, but that's why it's imperative that we stop thinking about our friendships as an afterthought. Like the way to survive in the world that we're living in, hell, the way to thrive in the world that we're living in, it's not just hustling harder on your own. It's having people who've got your back. And listen, now I understand that we're about to enter into a season that's like chock full of obligatory social gatherings. Okay. But when it comes to those cheesy, corny, random invites that you'd normally just brush off, listen, this year I say fuck it, do it anyway, because you never know who you might meet or what connection might come out of it. If the last few years have shown us anything, it's that we no longer have the luxury of just neglecting people. Life is becoming far too unpredictable to keep saying next time. And listen, I really truly get that socializing can feel like a lot of pressure. But honestly, the pressure of putting yourself out there is nothing compared to the weightiness of real loneliness. Because awkwardness passes, but loneliness lingers. So I've alluded to this a little bit, but let me just come out and say it that I think we need to date our friends the way that we date romantically. I mean, I truly think that when it comes to finding new friends, we need to take the same approach that we would take in finding love. Like the early stages of making friends feels just as vulnerable as dating somebody new. I mean, I just told you two different stories about my attempt at making new friends, and they were both crazy embarrassing and they didn't feel great at the time. But regardless, I seriously think that scheduling time with new friends should be just like scheduling sex in couples therapy. Okay. You put it on the calendar and you keep that appointment no matter what. And of course, in the beginning, it's going to feel forced and awkward, but give it some consistency and it gets better and deeper and way more fun. And that afterglow doesn't just build your friendships. When your cup is full, it spills into every other part of your life. And honestly, some couples could probably save a copay or two if they had stronger platonic friendships that nurtured other parts of them. Because when you're not expecting one person to meet your every emotional need, your whole relationship breathes a little easier. And that balance keeps you steady and it guarantees that you've got a reservoir to draw from when like life starts lifing. So we say we want friends, we say we want community, but then we flake, we ghost, we don't even show up. And let me be clear, I'm not here for it. Like, I am not okay with it. And for those of you who know me, I get it. It's rich coming out of my mouth. I totally understand it because I have been known to be flaky too. But that's really only with, family stuff, and that doesn't exactly count. But some of the things I've been seeing, I mean, some of the things are just like the way we're treating each other is like out of control. Like this is not cool at all. And I'm sorry. If you are in your 40s, you know better. Like Period. End of story. We were not raised like this. Okay. Back in the day, you had to actually put yourself out there. You had to knock on the front door and ask for your friends. You had to call a landline to talk to your friends. You risked somebody else picking up the phone and hearing you when you're mid rant. I will never forget in high school when I called my high school best friend's house and I start launching into the conversation. I'm like, bitch, you're never going to guess what happened. And it wasn't even her, it was her mom. They sounded very similar on the phone and I didn't pick up on it. Like, it was mortifying, but I survived. Like, that's how you learn, and life was not over. So, like, even if you had a messed up family, that's not an excuse either because you still knew what respect looked like. I mean, we had like 90s TV. You had Nickelodeon, you had Nick at Night, you had Family Matters, you had Full House. Like, our entire generation was raised with the message that you show up, you be decent, you respect people's time, and you don't tell me you don't know better. Like, it just, oh, this makes me so angry because, like, this casual culture of bailing last minute or treating people's effort like it's disposable. Like, no, I am not here for it. Like, it's so foul and wrong. Like, oh my God, it makes me so angry. It really does. Because that's not just rude, it's so cruel. Like, RSVP and mean it. And if you can't go, say no, but don't tell me that you're coming and then let someone cook and plan and set the table and just not show up. Like, that is unacceptable, especially at this stage of life. Like, and if you think I'm exaggerating, think about it, guys. Like, think about, like, let me run through some receipts. There was the woman who had the vision board party and she opens up her home and she buys all these supplies and she sets this whole vibe. And like the day of, people are dropping like flies. The day of, like, yes, emergencies happen, but that many emergencies. There was another woman. She had that whole like caprese salad and she moved into a new town and she was, goes to her child's, friend's 4th of July party. And I mean, she shows up with good intentions and they treated her like shit. Like, how do you crush somebody's spirit before you even give them a chance? Like, or on Instagram, there was a woman that I saw, like, she owned a catering company and she had this beautiful, I mean, gorgeous spread of food. And like, she literally was captioning how she had just done that exact type of event the week before. And like, for someone's birthday, a client's birthday, and nobody showed up. Like, what? That is like unforgivable. Or like, like literally a couple of days ago, there was a woman who, um, I guess there were like 27 people in a group chat. They had gone to some event the week before or something, and it was like overpriced and nobody had a good time. And she mentioned casually, hey, my birthday's next weekend. If y'all want to do anything, let's figure something out. Cool. If you don't, whatever. And everybody's like, oh yeah, let's do it. They put together this group chat. And as the days are going, they're talking and then people are dropping off like flies. Okay, fine. But then like the day before, all she gets is literally like 2 RSVPs of a maybe. A maybe? Y'all, we have got to do. Or wait a minute, what about that couple? That couple that got married and no one even showed up to their wedding. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I this makes me feel so much rage. It's because it's not just disappointing, it's so humiliating. It's so humiliating. And what makes me even more mad is as I'm scrolling through the comment section on all of these pages, I overwhelmingly see messages from people who experience the exact same thing. So these are not isolated incidents. On the one hand, we're saying that we want friends and community. And on the other hand, we're just like, whenever we have the opportunity, we're not seizing it. And it doesn't seem like there's enough social consequences. And I'm here for it. We need to bring back social consequences. You should not be able to just comfortably flake on somebody like that. Like, what are we doing? Like, all of it is foul. All of it is wrong. And what's worse is it's completely unavoidable. And we're just hurting people for no reason. And inadvertently, we're hurting ourselves. Like, I never RSVP yes when I mean no. Never. I will tell you the minute you tell me about the event, nope, I'm not going. Even if I don't even have a reason, I know myself. I will never lead you on. I don't string people along like that. Like, it's crazy. Like, if I have even the slightest inkling that I'm not going, I say it up front. I don't make you wait days and then let you plan and cook and wonder and hem and haw and spend money thinking I'm going to walk through the door and then just not. Like, oh, that is so cruel. Like, I just can't get with it. I cannot get with it. So, call me what you want, but you're never going to wonder with me. Like if I say I'm coming, I'm there. And if I'm not, you'll know before the RSVPs go out. Okay. Like I get it. Not everybody is super social. Hell, I'm not even super social. Right. But like, you cannot say we want community. You can't say we want friendship. And you can't want people to rally around for you and then turn around and ghost every time some people, when people try to include you in their thing. Like it doesn't work that way. And that whole entitlement is just disguised as self-care and it's gross and I'm over it. Like I'm over it because yes, take care of yourself obviously, but don't use self-care as an excuse to trample on somebody else's effort. Like oh my God, this breaks my heart. I get so angry because one day you're going to need people and you don't want you want people to show up for you. But like, guess what? Sometimes people remember and you can't make withdrawals from a bank account that you never put a deposit into. Ugh. Mm. Everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. Like, and that's the problem. But listen. Okay. At this stage of life, it's just friendship is not optional anymore. We need our people. You need your people, like, and not in a soft, like hokey pokey way, in a survival way, in a holistic, like, I need you to laugh with me, but I also need you to cry with me kind of way. And like, who do you call to bail you out of jail at 2 a.m. when you like go fuck up your ex's car? I mean, I'm not saying we're doing that at middle age, but I'm not saying I judge if you do, because the truth is it's not your job title or your bank account that saves you when life knocks you on your ass. It's your people. So find them and keep them. And for God's sake, show up for them. I'm Brandy Lynn, and this has been my 40s Unfiltered.